On my first day, my destiny in this world was decided when I was assigned a backstory where I was born into the Uzumaki clan in the Lightning Village. I had woken up with no memories, so I was just glad that my status as a blank slate was no more. Soon afterwards, a stranger named Waddlevania, or Waddle for short, also showed up as well. He seemed like he knew what was going on, but wouldn't give me any answers. Together, we worked on what was more important, survival. So we started cutting down trees to get wood. Then, I worked on making a bed, but unfortunately, I was quickly attacked by my first enemy. This thing was out for blood, and I had to outmaneuver it to survive. On day 2, I continued to work on surviving. For whatever reason, Waddle kept saying that he was lagging and glitching. I didn't know what he meant though. He was speaking as if this was some sort of simulation and advised me to start the quote-unquote story mode. Something in the back of my mind was telling me that this guy was a crazy person, but I tried to protect him as best as I could, and I decided to go ahead and do what he said. The story mode told the story of a boy named Naruto Uzumaki who had a fox spirit inside of him. It was through this story that got me to experiment, and I learned that there are abilities known as jutsu that I could use through harnessing chakra. I was freaking out at this revelation. Waddle came back, still glitching, and he said that he would be leaving me alone for a while. Whatever it was that was happening to him, it seemed like he was focusing on my growth as a fighter. At night, I practiced my skills on local wildlife. I needed to use my hands because there were forces at play that wouldn't let me hold a sword or a kunai as a weapon at the moment. They would pop right out of my hand and I needed to level up my kenjutsu ability to use one. Day 3 came and it was time to make a chest for storing my items. I then proceeded to continue the story mode and made a shadow clone of myself. Lonely, I made a sad parade of myself in order to make friends. At night, I perfected my ability though, and I made the sexy clone jutsu. Who needed friends when I could have something a little more warm at night, if you know what I'm saying? Anyway, as I hung out with my ladies, I was attacked by a jealous ninja who wanted a piece of my girls. Inexperienced, I needed to escape. I climbed up a tree, but before I knew it, a second guy was up there as well. They wanted to use my jutsu for their own nefarious deeds, so we jumped him. Luckily, once I caught him off guard, he was shook to his core and I easily beat him. The next day, another ninja smelled my clones in the air and snuck up on me. He got me all woozy with whatever his weapon was laced with, but I figured all this practice with these thirsty freaks would be great practice. Waddle would be so proud. After training enough, I was even able to hold a kunai, which greatly boosted my power. With that big advancement down, I collected food for a bit because it was time to go mining for coal and cook me up a nice, mighty fine dinner. For the rest of the day, I went back to training in the field. It was kind of a grind to get those levels up so that I could actually, have fun playing the game, but it was what I had to do. On day 5, instead of training on animals, I took out my newfound fury on my clones. They gave me experience in the same way that anything else would, so I felt myself getting stronger. A little further out, I found a ninja who said I needed to strive for a higher rank in order to get a quest from her. She then directed me to a quest she deemed worthy of my skills. Babysitting. A D rank mission. I knew I would do a great job at this, so I took the baby for an adventure! I went to a swampy area and found slimes, but this is where I realized that mobs had certain resistances on them. Slimes and zombies were highly resistant to bladed attacks, almost to the point of immunity. Meanwhile, skeletons were similarly resistant to projectiles instead. This feature also translated to the ninjas in the land. Tuckered out, I went back home and went to bed. The following morning, I still had my baby with me, but it was time to get the main story on the way. The next jutsu I needed to learn was the Shuriken Jutsu. I boosted my Shuriken Jutsu on my stat sheet up to 5 so that I could actually use them, and went and took out a spider. From there, I found out that I would have to wait until the next day for the Genin exams, so I took another D-rank mission involving getting ingredients for ramen in the meantime. On the way to do that, I found the baby's mom and she got mad at me for taking her baby away. She'd said she'd never hire a ninja again. Well, you know what? Screw you! By the next morning, I was out here using my newfound power and manifesting it as new lightning-based abilities. I learned lightning mode, which allowed me to greatly increase my speed, and I also learned static force, which helped in stopping the movement of anything I got close to. I also got the chakra for health jutsu, which allowed me to, take off my health to gain chakra. Duh. I used it to farm up my sexy shadow clones to get even stronger. After that, I spent the rest of the night fighting off hostile mobs in the area. Day 8 was a chill day. I literally didn't do anything but fish for that ingredient quest for literally the entire day. On day 9, I realized how much easier things had become. I was clearly advancing at a rapid rate because more experienced ninjas were falling at my power. After that, my baby mama went back to her old ways and needed me to take care of the child again, so this time I stood perfectly still and handed it right back to her. I told her I had to go grab some milk at the grocery store real quick and asked her to wait for me there. I ain't coming back. On day 10, I went back to fishing. It was another relaxing day running away from my child support, training for Waddle's return. At night, the zombies swarmed and another ninja attacked, but as you can see, I'm on a different level now. The next day, I came across a solid cave in the forest and thought I should explore it. Deep in there, I finally got me some iron, but was swarmed by even more zombies. To combat them, I used my clones, but even still, it was annoying. Zombies by far became my least favorite enemies to fight just because they resisted my kunai so immensely. As I was leaving the cave, I was ambushed again, but you can already imagine how that turned out. The ambushes didn't even stop there, and a ninja duo the following day wanted a piece of me as well. I held my own, but it was time to dip after a while of tangoing with them. I had more important fish to fry. It was time to head into a dungeon near my house. Something had been calling me to it for quite some time, and I felt like if I could conquer it, I would be proving myself to Waddle. Deep down in there, I found my biggest challenge yet. The deeper I went, the crazier the enemies, and the more of a rough time I was having. While I did find items everywhere I went, the biggest reward found here was basically just surviving. So now with a taste of what was to come down there, I dug my way out. If I was gonna take this place on properly, I would need my kunai to be upped in strength. So I slapped the Sharpness 3 enchantment book onto my kunai for a serious up in damage. I also made a truckload of shuriken and headed back down there. I was proving to be a bit more equipped for what was thrown at me now. That was until I made the biggest mistake I could have ever made. I broke through some blocks and unleashed the silverfish. It was like they were never ending. I don't even know how to describe the level of annoyance that I felt as wave after wave of them came into the room. I was running out of shuriken and there were another set of enemies that resisted kunai hits, so there wasn't a quick solution to this issue. After things died down, which took a lot longer than you probably imagine, I rushed to a spawner of theirs and happily destroyed it. I then took a leap of faith into a well, but just found myself stuck down there with even more silverfish. Continuing my adventures in this place, I picked up a diamond chestplate from an enemy and found a diamond sword near another well, but I couldn't use it because of the fact that I needed a crazy amount of stat points to do anything with it. Soon after, I unknowingly opened a trap chest, and as soon as I heard hissing, I backed up not knowing that I was standing upon a load of TNT that detonated underneath me. I miraculously survived the explosion and the enemies, and once things calmed down, I got my hands on some diamonds. More exploring led to more silverfish, and after getting past those annoying little pests, I made it to the nether layer of the dungeon. Things were going to get even more hectic, so I made the preparations necessary for my final plunge into the deep, dark depths of this dreary dungeon and its dastardly dangers. Day 15. It was time to see what was awaiting me on the other side. What I saw was beyond what I was expecting though. A flood of zombies. This was not going to be a fun little stroll in the park. No, I was looking at the true mouth of whatever this beast of a dungeon was. I needed to play smart and slow if I was going to survive. I needed to think things through. So I opened a hole in their chamber and started sniping them with my shurikens. I soon realized that even this strategy was getting me nowhere though. Luckily, I realized that these zombies with armor were not like the armorless zombies that I fought previously. These actually took consistent damage from my kunai swings, but even still, I was getting overwhelmed by their sheer numbers. I had to barricade myself as endless waves came after me. When they just kept coming and coming, I knew it was time to retreat. After popping out of the ground, I found out that I actually ended up pretty close to my base, so I marked the entrance so that I could get back quickly. That night, I learned a new jutsu, Chidori. Unfortunately, this move was very unreliable. It was extremely quick and it made me miss my targets most of the time. If only I had some sort of eye ability that would allow me to control it. I spent the rest of the night fighting mobs and making a protective wall around my small base. On the next morning, I found the most terrifying ninja I had faced until now. He had a zombie's resistance. My sharpness 3 kunai swings weren't budging through his natural defenses. I tried using Chidori, but ended up destroying my clone instead. And with that, I wasted so much chakra all in one go. I had to hide up on top of my base to keep the enemy at bay due to not having any major way of hurting him now. And it didn't help that he tried everything to get me away from my storage chest so I couldn't get materials for shurikens. After a bit, I got fed up with my situation and I just came up with a plan on the spot. I leaped at him. My goal was to push him into a nearby body of water just to keep him there. All he could do was watch pathetically as the plan fell into motion. After this, I rolled the dice with a nearby jutsu vendor and got the Kage Shuriken Jutsu. I boosted myself up to level 35 in the Shuriken Jutsu department so I could use it and then slayed my enemy in the pond with it. That night, I also learned the lightning release lariat technique, which acted as a more manageable version of my Chidori. Sure, it was weaker, but it didn't cost nearly as much chakra, which means I could use it multiple times. As the sun rose on the next morning, I was greeted with an old but familiar face, Waddle. I told him about my mastery of the Shadow Clone Jutsu and told him that it would be my signature technique and that I would spam it in every major fight that I was in. He noted that whatever was making him lag before was gone, and that in this time, it was noticeable that I had changed quite a lot. For the next 4 days, I trained Waddle up so that he could be on my level. He said that where he comes from, he's a lot more powerful already, but this world we're in right now doesn't work like that. He's powerless and needs to train up in the same way that I did. So we fought together and mined together, all in order to give Waddle a fighting chance in this world. For the next 2 days, Waddle and I went back down into the depths of destruction. This dungeon was going to feel the wrath of the two of us side by side and crumble at our feet. Or so we thought. Instead, we found a much more balanced experience than we were expecting. Then, the curse of the dungeon seeped in. I was going crazy. Rooms were going dark and I didn't know what to do. Waddle tried to calm me down, but this issue ended up taking us into the next day. On day 24, it seemed we had finally gotten to the core of this place. There didn't seem like there was much else to do or explore down here. Every instinct I had was telling me to simply conquer. Waddle told me to listen to that feeling. He explained that the inhabitants of this place are all here for us to conquer. After all of them being so hostile towards us, it only made sense to take our desires for revenge out on them. The mobs didn't give up without a fight though. In fact, their strength only multiplied in this area. The heart of their home clearly meant a lot to them. So much so that they managed to run me and Waddle off through their rallied efforts. A day went by, and figuring that we needed more coordination, Waddle and I rushed into the core when they least expected it this time. Sure, this only allowed for a brief window of opportunity thanks to this, but it was all we needed, and Waddle covered for me as I pillaged all the riches found in this sweet spot of the dungeon. As we continued, we saw the heart and soul of this place bubble up and reach its boiling point, but in the end, we were the winners. On the next day, with the dungeon conquered, it was time to pack up and leave. The story mode needed us to find an ocelot in order to prove that we had the skills to become proper genin, so we went on the journey. We found abandoned mines, crazy-looking ninja bases full of lava and death, and strange structures that seemed like they were almost glitched into existence in an area that they probably didn't belong. Whatever was going on, this was a journey that led to the two of us bonding even more. Waddle was truly my buddy, but then he vanished again. My solo journey continued for another 4 days as I trudged along looking for a jungle. Whatever was happening felt like it would be revealed if I just kept moving, kept progressing. I didn't even know if I was going in the right direction, but the hope of figuring out what all this meant was what was keeping me going. The lessons Waddle was telling me I needed to learn had all been paying off, and so far, the story mode stuff was assisting with that, so I moved forward. The morning of day 33 came with a huge surprise. I was finally at the jungle biome I was looking for. It was finally time to find me an ocelot and continue down whatever the road to my destiny was. After almost leaving the jungle in my hunt, I finally found an ocelot and completed that aspect of my Genin exam. From there, a little anticlimactically, the final request asked of me to get a piece of wheat. So once I did that, I was promoted to the status of an official ninja. Yay! The next day, I had a headband and I was ready to roll. The story mode then put me onto Team 7 with Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto. Our sensei, Kakashi, then asked what we liked, disliked in our dreams, and this simulation made up something for me. So here's my reaction to that in the moment.
Dang, they like gave me my own thing. Why couldn't I just be like, hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Shizzle Games. My dream is to have 100,000 subscribers and then one day 1 million subscribers and make YouTube more than just a hobby for me. But until then, I'm gonna be trying my best to do these videos and make them very fun. I mean, even after that, I'm gonna make the videos fun so that people enjoy them. That's my whole goal, is to make people enjoy my videos. Please, a lot of people just enjoy my videos, please. It makes me happy. Well, Sizzle Games, see you tomorrow. Okay, Naruto, I will see you tomorrow, I guess.
After this, I followed the location the story wanted me to go to and was ambushed by my sensei, Kakashi. He claimed he was doing some sort of bell test, but it was clearly some sort of twisted abuse. Caught off guard, I ran away and sought refuge in the house of a nearby ninja. I returned when I felt I was ready, and it was time to rumble with Kakashi. I immediately spammed all of my clone cuties to keep him off me. Clearly this dude was a closet perv or something, because he was easily taken back by this attack, and it felt like it left him in a weakened state. This dude seemed lost in the sauce and started crowd surfing through all of my artificial girls. My mass harem jutsu was a clear success. Eventually, I jumped into the fray though, and when that happened, I got a taste of this guy's true power. He hit me with a fireball that packed a huge punch, to say the least. With only one attack, the tides had turned and I was fighting for my life. But luckily, I pulled through in the end somehow, only to then find out that I was fighting a clone this entire time. He ended up mentioning how those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are even worse than scum, and that really stuck with me. That night, I made a little base and camped out in the forest, just thinking on that. In the morning, I found a strange structure floating in midair. Once again, this seemed like another glitch or something that didn't belong here. I looked around in the structure and ended up finding a few bottles of experience. After this, I walked around aimlessly. I had gotten to the point where the story mode wasn't giving me anything new to work on, so I wondered if that too was a glitch, or if I had really reached the end of my journey without figuring out what my purpose here was. Was all of this just to fight and survive? Was there nothing more to this world? My reflection into a sense of self-discovery was still in full swing into the next few days. I used this time to start working on my new base of operations. I wasn't going to let myself get eaten up by this world, even if I didn't have a goal. So I decided I'd take control. I'd make a village. On day 42, I was once again visited by Waddle. He mentioned that the village idea was a good one. We explored a nearby dungeon but lost interest really quick and decided to progress Waddle's story mode experience as well by heading back to the jungle. After finishing up Waddle's ascension into becoming a Genin, it was time to begin the foundations for the village I imagined. I wanted a place that would attract people to live alongside me. A place where all these lost souls in this simulation could come together and live in peace. A proper sanctuary for the forgotten. After significant progress was made on some of my village's structures, I also worked on a small farm so I could feed the people as they came. I knew that if I worked hard enough, this would end up a respectable place. Waddle and I worked tirelessly, but we were making such amazing progress on our dream village. During this time, Waddle started asking me about what I thought about destroying a village rather than building one. I had no idea what he was talking about or why he even asked me that, but he asked me to just drop the conversation entirely, so I did. The next day, my idea worked. Even though the village wasn't complete, people started flooding in. They wanted to be a part of this village of mine. I was so happy. But then day 53 came, and I was in a different place. This place was a full-fledged village, but I was all alone. I didn't know what to do, so I just started again. I felt powerless. I didn't have my levels, my jutsus, my villagers, my friends, nothing. I was not in control. What was the purpose of all of this? Then the next day, I began to get answers. A voice in the sky was telling me to go to the arena in this village and defeat the person there in order to understand the truth. I was told that this was a replica of a ninja from some place called the Village Hidden in the Leaves. I quickly defeated him, but it took almost everything that I had. On the 55th day, I had to fight a replica of a girl named Hinata Hyuga. Once again, another ninja from the Leaf Village. After defeating this foe, I found Waddle at a cemetery in the village. He seemed sad. I asked if he had lost someone here, and he angrily proclaimed that he did, and that he wanted to train me properly in order to help get them back. After this, Waddle took me around and taught me how to walk on water, shoot water bullets to attack my foes, and clone myself, which I excelled at from all of my training in the previous world. After all this, he taught me how to use the fireball jutsu and shot it at a certain building in the village. He said that this building represents a lost wish, but a new hope. The elimination of a figure called the Hokage in this residence holds the fate of our lives, he said. I was still very confused. Was the Hokage evil? Before Waddle could answer, a man named Orochimaru appeared. He revealed he was the one who put me in the simulation. He claimed I was his greatest creation and tasked me with destroying the real Hidden Leaf Village alongside Waddle. In the past, he had tried to make other versions of me, but they were all too weak-minded and failed their simulations. My ability to adapt far exceeded any experiment that came before. I had survived, and now it was time to wipe my memories so I could be the ultimate sleeper agent. He said he still had a few more tweaks left to make in me, but I was close to perfection. I tried to ask all these questions like what was going to happen to me? Was I going to reset again? That's when Waddle attacked me and...
You will seek me out, and when you do, I'll show you unlimited power.
Day 1. After traveling for multiple days without any memory of who I am or what I was doing, I stumbled upon the village hidden in the leaves. Almost as soon as I arrived, a friendly young ninja named Waddle said he would help me remember who I was.
And just like that, you now realize that this video was actually a prequel to my previous 100 Days in Naruto video. So the storyline continues. If you guys didn't know, I have a whole nother 100 Days of Naruto that takes place right after this. Like that very last moment where it says day 1 again and I meet Waddle in the village and everything. That's its own video that you guys can find on my channel. I'll link it down in the description. I'll link it in the comments and you guys can watch that one too. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to continue to do more of these, more 100 days stuff. You guys tell me what other 100 days you want to see from me and I will try my best to get them done. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.